Is the US now imposing 245% tariffs on China? And what does this mean for the macro and for crypto? Famous investor Ray Dalio is very concerned about what comes next. Plus, Ondo is launching an insane new product that could further boost its influence. This is your Altcoin Buzz News. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Cody, and if you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when I drop latest content. Follow us on Twitter, AltcoinBuzzIO, and as always, not financial advice, and wish you the best of luck in your crypto ventures. Alright, you guys, so starting off today, Bitcoin actually pumped a little yesterday and then sold off after New York Open. We are looking pretty decent still, actually. This is kind of exactly what we were expecting, where we had a reclaim of this level. So now we're kind of in the downwards part of this. We could still go up towards New York Open today and then, head a little higher. I do think it is possible we do come up here towards $89,000 and at least sweep these highs before going lower. So that is still a possibility. We could go a little higher before continuing down. What would change my mind is if we start to close dailies above around $89,000. If we can start to close above this area, then it'll be a little bit more convincing to me that, maybe we're going to head higher for a while. We could still go down, over maybe over the summer. But right now, the low time frame in the short term, I do think we are in a little bit of a, kind of a bounce, a little bullish window right now. So I'm kind of just waiting to see what happens right now, kind of coincides with the tariffs, which I'm about to talk about right now. So in the short term, we could have a little bit of a bounce and be a little bit bullish, but medium term, I think we do still go down. Right now, we have Crypto Rover saying, breaking, the White House clarifies there's now a 245% tariff on China. So I don't know if this is the actual official number. The numbers seem to change every single day, but 245% tariff is insane. I don't know if you guys have been seeing, there's all kinds of retaliation going on in China. The Chinese are coming out and they're making these videos about all the famous, Louis Vuitton brands that are, being made in China, that then get sent to Europe and then they put their brand on it. And so, there's all this stuff which we've known about for a while, but now the fact that they're breaking their confidentiality clauses and China's coming out and saying all these things about these designer brands, it's kind of like an all-out war right now between US and China in terms of trade. So not too ideal. Also, we have the White House saying this about China yesterday and making a deal with the US.
Has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money. So the president, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America.
And then even more urgent, we have crypto investors need to read this. Global markets are about to crash. Ray Dalio just issued a warning, and he's never wrong. So we have Ray Dalio from Bridgewater, famous investor, and I'll play this clip for you real quick.
Right now, we are at a decision-making point and very close to a recession. And I'm worried about something worse than a recession if this isn't handled well. A recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP, and whether it goes slightly there, we always have those things. We have something that's much more profound. We have a breaking down of the monetary order. We are going to change the monetary order because we cannot spend the amounts of money, so we have that problem. And when we talk about the dollar and we talk about tariffs, we have that. We are having profound changes in our domestic order, how ruling is existing, and we're having profound changes in the world order. Such times are very much like the 1930s. I've studied history, and this repeats over and over again. So if you take tariffs, if you take debt, if you take the rising power challenging the existing power, if you take those factors and look at the factors, those changes in the orders, the systems, are very, very disruptive. How that's handled could produce something that is much worse than a recession.
So Ray Dalio is a famous investor, and he's predicted the Japanese collapse, the 2008 financial crisis, and the US-China power shift. Now he's sounding the alarm again, and we shouldn't ignore it. So the debt supercycle is ending. The US debt to GDP just hit 122%, levels not seen since World War II. The government is now spending more on interest than on defense. It's like living on maxed out credit cards with no plans to pay them off. That's where we are. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos yet. I've been seeing them a lot, where if you see the movie The Big Short, the famous scenes of, saying there's a bubble. We had Coachella this past weekend, And supposedly there's a lot of people who are buying tickets now and paying later. And we're talking about this whole, debt super cycle where, no one is being able to afford living. The cost of living has gone up so much. Coachella tickets are being financed on huge buy now, pay later plans. And so that meme is kind of going off. I've seen it a lot more recently. And we have Dalio warns of a triple threat: out of control debt and weak monetary policy, internal division tearing the U.S. apart, and rising global conflict, especially the U.S. versus China. We've seen these separately, but never all at once, not since the 1930s. Political chaos equals market volatility, and Dalio calls this a soft civil war. Trust in government is near record lows. The 2024 elections triggered 35 plus legal battles, and political violence is rising. Markets hate instability, and it's just getting started. US and China is the economic powder keg. We're in a Cold War over chips, AI, and trade. 60% of global commerce flows through the South China Sea, and a Taiwan flashpoint could crash global supply chains overnight. Dalio's portfolio is changing: global diversification, hard assets like gold, and neutral geopolitical exposure. Bridgewater recently increased its gold exposure by 15%, which is not a coincidence. US dominance is fading. China and Russia are openly working on alternatives to SWIFT and the dollar. Blind faith in the S&P 500, that strategy may not hold in the New World Order. So how to protect your wealth, according to Dalio: diversify beyond US, hedge with inflation-resistant assets, hold cash to stay nimble, and watch geopolitics. They're not just headlines. The biggest mistake is assuming tomorrow will look like yesterday. The world is changing fast. 2025 won't be a repeat of 2020 to 2022. We're entering a new chapter of economic history: fast, volatile, and unpredictable. The winners, the ones who stay flexible and prepare early. So what about crypto? Dalio sees Bitcoin as digital gold, not a currency, but a hedge. In a world of rising debt and fiat uncertainty, crypto has a role to play. Don't bet at all, but don't ignore it either. Now, how do recessions impact crypto? Investors pull out of risky assets and crypto drops early. Bitcoin dumped during COVID like traditional markets. It's not a perfect hedge, often moves with stocks, but decentralization gives it a long-term potential. In downturns, caution over hype. But the flip side, recessions might push more people into crypto. Trust in banks and fiat drops during crises. Crypto offers 24/7 access, transparency, and no middlemen, and Bitcoin is increasingly seen as digital gold. Younger investors trust blockchain more than Wall Street. In a broken system, people look for alternatives. And then moving on, we have Sui saying more than $500 million USDC on Sui. USDC on Sui just crossed $545 million in total market cap. So USDC natively on Sui just passed $500 million. And we also have Ledger Live now supports secure Sui transfers. So the Sui community has been pressing Ledger for over a year for their support. And this week, Ledger announced it'll add Sui tokens to Ledger Live. The mobile app will follow soon. To clarify, Ledger Live is the app that lets you manage your Ledger hardware wallets. It's the user interface on your computer or phone. You can see Ledger Live as an interface between blockchain and your hardware wallet. For example, you can view balances, track transactions, access various other services, and for instance, like buying, selling, swapping, or staking crypto. So for Sui, this integration is a great step forward to increase security. You can now self-custody your Sui tokens in the most secure way. And to clarify, this is with a hardware wallet. The integration between Ledger Live and Sui will roll out in phases. Currently, you can already buy, send, and receive Sui, but later this year, Ledger will add staking and swapping options. Ledger already secures 20% of the crypto market, and now you can add the Sui DeFi ecosystem to this as well. You can also import your Sui wallet into your Ledger wallet, and this also makes your Sui-related transactions even more secure. The market has gone crazy over the last 30 days, with 2 huge liquidation days of over $1 billion and a pump and dump over the weekend. But some coins like Sui have weathered the storm and are still a great investment opportunity today. Sui is quickly becoming one of the leading altcoins in the market, so let's check out why. Sui is killing it in all the big sectors it supports, like DeFi, where Sui crossed $1 billion in TVL and is almost at $1.5 billion in record time. Sui's liquidity aggregator DeepBook launched its Deep token in October, and is holding up well in tough market conditions. Walrus is changing the game in decentralized data storage, and its token launch is coming soon. And Solana builders are building on Sui now, with integrations like Phantom and Backpack. Sui even has a small but growing meme coin market for meme coin lovers. If you haven't used Sui lately, then come give it a try, and follow Sui's X account for all their latest updates. And then moving on, we have Mantra CEO John Mullen, who plans to burn all of his team's token in order to win back the trust of the network's community following the sudden crash of Ohm on April 13th. So if you guys remember, we did a whole video on this yesterday about Ohm and the Mantra crash from just above $6 down to under, $1. So JP Mullen says the team's token allocation are actually vesting only starting in 2027, which is 30 months from the mainnet launch of October 24th. I'm planning to burn all my team's tokens, and when we turn around, the community investors can decide if I've earned it back. And we also have Coffeezilla, who interviewed John, saying he interviewed the CEO of Ohm, which crashed 90%. $30 to $45 million was sold OTC by the team. $10 million was reinjected back in Ohm in mid-2024. The CEO says that isn't pumping the price. We disagree on what pumping the price is. A full interview on YouTube. So I'll play this clip real quick as well.
Do you regret pumping the price? I guess I haven't gotten that from you. I don't know if you do or not. You see it as a
I mean,
mistake?
again, I don't feel like I or the team pumped the price.
You did though. You sold OTC, then you re-injected it back in the chart, right? That's pumping the price.
I mean, I think we're gonna have to agree to disagree. But
Wait. No. This is not a matter of agreeing to disagree. This is just a statement of definitions. Okay, pumping is when the price meaningfully appreciates, right?
Sure.
Usually, it involves somebody who's inside the token or wants the token to go up. They put in some amount of money to make the price go up. When you OTC dealing, you get some Tether or whatever you get, USDC, whatever. Yep. And then you say to your market maker, hey, in your words, I just want you to buy for the next whatever months.
Sure.
That is pumping the price. Yes or no?
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
I guess I would say
I don't want to force you into saying that, but
hold up. No. So let me just be clear. I would say that can have a positive impact on the price, or that would necessarily have a positive impact on the price. I wouldn't necessarily say that's going to pump the price.
But I also agree with Gary Ma, who says, what do you call stock buybacks then? So Coffeezilla is kind of saying this is a bit like pumping your own price, but also in stocks, they do this a lot where the company buys back the stocks with money they've earned or they made. So I think it's kind of similar in crypto. Stock buyback is what he's trying to do right here. But also we have Miles saying, one of the biggest takeaways from the own situation is to pay attention to liquidity and the market depth. Even with a massive $6 billion market cap, liquidity was thin. A crucial part of everyone's research process needs to be checking the market depth of tokens. You can easily do so on CoinGecko under markets. So we can see here the hourly volume and 1% market depth. And you can see the market depth spikes around 3 p.m. and then it drops 74%. And so this is, more so how you can track thin liquidity or, thick liquidity of a token. And you can do that on CoinGecko underneath markets. But moving on to another RWA token, we have Ondo Finance. So traditional stocks trade at 9:30 to 4 p.m. Tokenized stocks are available 24/7. Traditional markets settle in days. Tokenized stocks can settle instantly. Traditional finance excludes billions. Tokenized stocks are globally accessible. Stocks aren't just coming on chain, they're evolving, and they're doing it on Ondo global markets. So Ondo is bringing stocks on chain, which is going to be absolutely massive. And I can't wait because I have been wanting to buy some stocks, but it's easy, but I'd rather keep my money in crypto and then buy crypto versions of stocks. So I'm actually super excited when this does launch. And we also have Ted saying Ondo is now listed on Binance, the biggest RWA protocol with $1 billion in TVL and part of Trump's crypto portfolio. Looking at the chart, we're approaching the 1 to 110 level, which was a major resistance level. Once it breaks above that, expect huge moves. And then we have Not Telling saying Paul Atkins is now officially the head of the SEC. Don't forget, he's incredibly bullish on RWAs as he's on the board of the Securitize. Securitize works with BlackRock, who works with Ondo. Expect RWA cryptos to benefit significantly once the SEC gives clear guidelines for RWAs on-chain. My top RWA cryptos to benefit are Ondo and Plume. We have Ondo, who is kind of making a bit of a higher low right now, kind of like Bitcoin, where we could see this as a bit of a level of support right now. So something like this. We could go higher. It really depends on kind of the whole global market. So this isn't, a high conviction bet for me right now. This isn't exactly where I would be longing, but it is, macro aside, this is a decent area to bid on Ondo. So we have had this level reclaim. Now I could see us going back up to this next major level here, which would be somewhere between, $1.07 and $1.12-ish. So I could see something like this where if we do go higher today for New York Open, something like this. The trading view is very laggy today for some reason, and all of that just loaded. But anyway, I could see something like this where we head up to this next level. But like I've said before, my highest conviction play is when we get back above this 120 level, because all of this is just, it could still be lower highs as we are coming down. So we could still just be going down lower. And so my highest conviction play is more so around here. But if you want to trade intraday, if you want to trade, for a day or two, or try and get this level, I do think it's not a bad play if you wanted to buy somewhere out here as a level reclaim and looking for higher lows, and you want to head higher to at least this level here around $1.07-ish. Not a trade I'm willing to take just yet, just because of how the macro is, and I'm just not fully convinced just yet that we are going immediately higher. And I think maybe we get a pump like this and then back down, something like that. So not my highest conviction play right now. I'm waiting a little bit longer for Ondo and for trading and buying altcoins. So that is a video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you tomorrow.